Hey man, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Oh, cool. Checking to see what's going on there. It's okay, Harv. What's up, Alex? Hey man, what's going on, everyone?
Not much. Luckily, I'm getting some calls from my marketing, so that's good.
That's really good, man. Now, where are you at as far as your spend?
$100.
Nice.
Much more.
That's always good. And now you had to do a couple calls. People actually selling houses and stuff.
2 calls so far. Yeah. Like the one was like actually 2 leads. No bullshit calls. So that's good.
Dude, that's super. That's not just good. That's like crazy good. So just know that's super good. And obviously sometimes it starts off hot, but bottom line is if that's $50 conversions. Like I said, I was struggling with Lead Propeller to get like $400 and $500 conversions, and I was happy to get them. I could actually make a profit there, but a lot of times they were running at 750. So I've been running at about 128, 130 right now, which I'm just super happy to have. Like I could run the rest of my life at that number. It's just a good number in general. Because if you think that it takes 10 or 15 leads to close a deal, then you're talking like $2,000, $2,500 to close a deal. I'm happy to pay that anytime ever. So yeah. And at $50, it might go up, but either way, it's a great start. You only spent $100, so it's nice too. I'm always happy when it happens quick, because I spent like a couple $1,000 before I got the first lead with them, and I felt like they were just kind of like doing the shotgun approach, where they're just like going everywhere with it. And one of the things that we've been working on, right, is like kind of being able to get started off on the right foot. And I spent $1,000 before I got my first deal, and I got a lot of leads up to that point, like 10 or 15. I was happy. So if it was actually working, it didn't cost thousands of bucks to start working. So it's really good. Just keep doing what you're doing, man. You know what I mean? You're running leads now. Any help I can give you on the leads, or just kind of breaking down maybe the strategy of working with the leads?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so far both of them are, the one is like a true, both of them are wholesales. I mean, if there's anything to do with them, they're wholesales. But hey, it's a lead, right? Yeah. So it's something to do, and if it pays, it's worth it. And
well, yeah, money's money, right? So I mean, obviously the one thing you complain about is that people are overpaying in your market, and that they were kind of paying retail for stuff that didn't need any work. I mean, didn't need it work, right? And you're still paying like full price for it. So you're like, how am I ever going to get a good deal? So anytime you have a major problem like that, there's always a counterplay to it. Meaning, like when I find like markets around me, like DC's this way and PG County, which is next to DC, when people are going crazy and paying too much, like I've seen people paying 95% of LTV for properties in PG County. And for the longest time, I just complained about it. When I started making some real money is when I started saying, well, if they're paying 95% of LTV, and I put stuff under contract for 80 and try to sell it for 90, right? And I started doing that, but I did it when I didn't actually, I'd do it without any like recourse, because I would use the script that I teach you guys, like, hey, I could try to sell it to one of my investor friends, and and maybe partner up with them, and people would be like, okay, cool, as long as I get my number. And I would take it out there, and I'd always be shocked. Like when me and Rashad did a deal we made 10 grand off of about 8-9 months ago. It was just, I mean, we wanted to pay 110 for it, and the guy agreed to 110, and we ended up signing it up for 135 because he kept like going back and forth, said I have this other offer, and we just said, you know what, let's just sign it up, we'll go to tell him what we'll pay later. And we ended up selling to somebody for 145. So we're like it made no sense over 110, 115. Like, after that, it was like getting crazy. So the thing is, like, it's hard for my head to wrap around that fact, but we were in that deal with no risk, like no deposit, plenty of ways of getting in and out. So we the guy was stuck on 135. We gave it to him. And then we just went out, and we knew that if we had to come back, we could try to renegotiate him later once we got rid of the other people. But hoped that we didn't have to renegotiate it, which we didn't. So we were more than happy to do that. So anytime people are overpaying, then the play tends to be sometimes wholesaling, right? And it'll be some that you get to keep as rehabs. But if you can pop off quick 5, 10, 15K, you now have made your marketing profitable. Even 5K is honestly, if you only spent 100, that's a pretty good return. So, obviously, yeah, go after those and get real aggressive. If somehow you get them, what advice I would give you is, I know you've had a few deals. I know like very little about them. Like a couple of the students that are really crushing it actually involve me at a very high level in like every little detail, because there's a lot of little details to maximizing the outcome. Like you'd be surprised how much like thoughtfulness we put into like one little stupid deal. But when it's like one little stupid deal can go from being like 3K to like 11K. Like there's many, many times where I've been able to take 3K and then be like, I'm getting ready to sign it up for 3K. And then I'm like, hold on, do this, do that, try this. And next thing you know, it's like we're getting 11K for it. And, it's a huge, even just getting it from 3 to 5 is a huge difference. But obviously there's room to do a lot more than usually what your brain will allow you to believe can be done. I've had to learn that over the years, because my brain was never geared towards thinking, big crazy money and doing things that don't make sense, because my brain links logically. And, so if I run it through and say logically, why would someone pay that? Well, my brain doesn't want me to try it. But what I've learned now is I got to shut that part of my brain off, because there's people out there thinking like, I don't know what they're thinking, but they're on drugs probably. I don't know what they're on, or some kind of like, I want to flip houses drugs, house flipping show drugs, I guess. They're high on house flipping shows, high on HGTV. They're bumping HDTV lines or something. They're crazy as shit. I mean, they're never going to make money. And I'm just like, I just don't understand it, but like, it isn't my job to understand. It's only my job to recognize the pattern and exploit it and make money where we can. So it's definitely been a scenario where we've been able to make a lot of money by just taking things and paying, basically paying more than we normally would pay in a very safe way, where we're not guaranteeing or putting non-refundable deposits, and then just seeing if the market would be willing to pay even more than that. And yeah, I've been very surprised. I've had multiple like 10 to 20K deals this year where I paid 10 or 15K more than my highest number, and was able to then get 20K more, 22K more on one. And I think we got like 8K more on the other one. And one, we were 110 and we took it under contract for 125. The other one, we were like offering like 70 and we took it under contract for like 85 or something, like 15K more. And we got 105 on one, and, got like 7K more on the other one. The other one was a deal where we had it 125. We ended up getting like 111 for it, but I got them down to, eventually after like 60 days, I got them from 125 down to like, I don't know, somewhere like 103 or some shit, or 104, something like that. So it took like 60 days of going back and forth with them to get them down to a number where I could make 7K. But that's the kind of stuff we can do. But you talk about the level of like strategery, I guess that me and Rashad put into that to make that money. It was crazy. We were like we put a lot of work into it, and I feel like we made that money out of thin air. That money was not supposed to be it was not supposed to be made by anyone. We actually invented it. Like you talk about Harry Potter wholesaling, that was like, we completely invented that money. Nobody's actually going to ever like teach you how to do that. That's something that's just pure like, I'm not giving up. And we literally, probably Rashad probably talked to nothing less than 25, 30 people to get to the one person willing to pay even the number we needed to pay. And it was a combination of also the way we fed the offers to her, the way we constantly just chiseled her down over like 60 days until she got in that perfect place. We found the perfect buyer and the two matched up perfectly, and we got to make money. So yeah. So basically when you're going in, like whatever you think the number is, get them as close to your number as possible and leave the door open. Just say, look, at that number, tell them what you'll pay. If you're like, I'll pay 30, and they're like, oh, we need 50, then just be like, look, I can take it at 50, but I'm going to have to really run it by a bunch of investors and see if I can get one of them to buy it, and, maybe partner up with me. And I'm going to need 30 days to do that. At 50, 30, I can do quick cash or whatever, right? You can give them a number I can pay quick cash. You always want to give them a number you can do that with, by the way. So even if it's an area you don't want to buy in, just see what things easily sell for and then just buy it for half that price. So you always want to make some offer. And then when they don't want your offer because it's too low, that always is the pivot into like, hey, I can get my investors through and get you the money you want. So that's always how I pivot in, but it starts with me. I got to get a no. I was reading a book called Start With No, and it's actually really important in the negotiation to get someone to do the wholesale, because people are always like, why would someone do that? Why would someone let you take it for 30 days and try to work things out? They let you do that because, there's a lot of no's that happen before we present that. And people hate when things are a no. People hate confrontation. They hate no's, and they naturally want to gravitate towards, how do I make this a yes, right? How do I turn this into a yes? So the second that they can turn it into a yes, and what you're offering is super reasonable, doesn't cost them anything, they get their number. We get yes like quite often on that. That's why we have pretty high expectation when we're sitting in front of someone to walk away with something. right? Because I mean, my belief is you walk away with something, you're in the game still. You say no, you're out of the game. Now, once you've done a few of them, Gerhard, you'll start to discover what's a good use of your time or not. Right? There might be some that are just impossible to make work, and so what happens, you'll get a good understanding of the market and what works and what doesn't work after you've done 5 or 10 deals. Because it's hard to make those decisions when you're new and you haven't done the deals yet. So I always advise when you're new wholesaling, take whatever, just don't have a non-refundable deposit, obviously. And this is the big upside of having PPC because you're direct to seller. So you 100% can, we have contracts right on there you can use, and there's like 900 ways out. I often don't even give them any money, anything. Like I put on there that I'll deliver $1,000 deposit to my title company. I haven't delivered that deposit. Like I can't even remember the last time I've delivered that deposit. Like it's pretty, I'm surprised my title company asked me where the deposit is. Cause I'm like, you guys know I never bring the deposit. Just take it off the thing. Like, just like write it off the HUD one. Cause I don't just write that I never delivered it. I don't care. It's not a big deal. Like when they're settling, they're not going to care if the deposit never made it. So I never delivered deposit. So virtually, and I even stopped. I used to give them like $10 to sign it to make it a real contract. Well, I don't even do that half the time, but I would advise you do that because that is considered consideration. So that would, if you ever get in a legal battle, it's nice to have something, but you can give them $1, $10, $20. I would never give more than 20, just so you know, especially if you think it's something you're just taking a shot with. So yeah, wholesaling, man, it's always good to take you can get these things under contract and you can absolutely just, you can make some magic happen, man. But let me help you through it and do whatever I can to get you kind of started on it, because your mission now is to get one of these leads converted if it's possible. All right. Every lead you want to treat like it's like I don't know, like it's a diamond. You just want to treat it like there's nothing better in the world than this one lead I just got. And when you take that approach with every lead, because most time people take the approach like, oh, this lead's not that great. It's not what I wanted, right? You're creating a lot of expectations around the leads instead of like being humble and just saying, okay, I got a lead. What is the absolute number one way that gives me the best chance of making money from this lead? Because I get leads all the time in Baltimore that are like the hood. And for many years I was like, oh God, it's the hood. And I just like, man, I ain't even calling them back because it's the hood. And honestly, the hood is kind of a headache, but with that being said, when I changed my approach on that about 5 years ago. I've had many deals. I've had people in the hood call me and they're like, and I'm like, your house is worth like 10K or maybe like 5, 10K. I've actually convinced like probably in 5 years, probably like over 10 people to basically, I'll sell their house for them and we'll split the profit. We'll split like everything. So like I sell it, whatever I sell it for, I'll give you half and I'll take half for selling it. And they're like, okay. And we went up making like $3,000-5,000. It's never been a home run. I got no home room stories from that because these things generally never sell for like more than like 10 or 15K. So I think probably biggest one's probably been like 6K, but I'm like, it's 6K out of nowhere, right? Because I get those calls all day long. Obviously, anytime you have a bad area around you, the number one call you're going to get, no matter where you market, is people are going to call you with those properties. Because seeing the bad neighborhoods, it actually really isn't a seller's market anymore. It's actually, I mean, what is still, it's not really a seller's market. They're kind of desperate. They're desperate to sell. So it's more of a buyer's market because even though the market overall is amazing, in the hood in Baltimore, it's actually not. It's such a bad neighborhood that like the buyers are desperate to sell. So when you're putting motivated seller ads out, well, guess what? I'm gonna get a lot of those people, and they're not. So we got to be really creative for how to make money with them. So I've definitely probably passed up a lot of dollars in the first years of doing this by just looking and saying, oh, it's a really rough neighborhood. Like nothing sells for anything there. And the guy wants 20K. Now what I do, this is my mission on every bad lead. On every lead, I make an offer. That's my rule, because if it's a lead, I got to make them an offer because I want to make them say no, and know that in the messed up neighborhoods, you're going to be surprised how often people are more motivated and willing to say yes to something that's very different. I've had people ask for 30K and then take like 3. Like, I mean, it's not unreal in a roughed off neighborhood. They generally, the reason half time when they're asking you, like telling you what they want to sell it for, it's based on their tax assessment. So the thing that's really awful about the hood is the house could be worth like 5K and then tax assessment's always like 50 because the city's kind of like rob them for all the taxes they can get from them. And so yeah, make them an offer, right? Make them an offer because you'd be surprised at how many people say yes. It's a super desperate, motivated area. So I'm assuming you're probably in that part of your town, it sounds like, because basically saying they're like wholesales only, it sounds like it's in that rougher part of PA you're near, which I know the values are pretty low there. Well, that's probably just like Baltimore City. Bad parts of Baltimore City, obviously. We got good parts too. parts where they're like 5 and 10, it's like, oh yeah, that's where they shot the season 2, episode 5 of The Wire. It's like, oh yeah, that's there. I remember that episode. That's where you're like, okay, that's not going to be worth very much. So it's not going to be worth a lot, but like we just don't want to pass money up, because when you're spending money on your marketing plan, right, and you're getting leads come in, you gotta monetize every lead you can get, down to like if something's very retail, like hey, if something they want 200K for something and you think it's better to be a listing, recommend it to someone locally and get a kickback, get a 25% commission referral fee. Anything, right? A check for $1,000, $500, that all goes right back in the pot and keeps your ROI looking good and keeps you surviving until you get to that big daddy deal that you want, right? You got to work a lot of these singles, right? Think of like the baseball analogy. These are the bunts and singles and walks, and you got to get up the bats though to hit some doubles, triples, and home runs, and then grand slams. And obviously it's going to be in almost exact proportion as baseball. You get up the bats a bunch of times before you hit a grand slam. And so that's how we are. So we look at like learning any lead is getting up the bats, doing any deal is like, hitting the ball and getting on base. And it's all good, man, because it all adds up over time. The people are really good at like squeezing every dollar out. They just always are profitable. And honestly, I'm not always that guy, but when I put my heart to it, I can squeeze dollars out like crazy. Sometimes I get busy and I get real, I start setting expectations of like, oh man, I'm just looking for something like in Glen Burnie, like a better lead. I need better quality leads. And that when that mindset takes over, I kind of ignore all the neighborhoods I don't want to be in, and I miss the value there. Plus, I don't want to get killed in those neighborhoods. So I have a good technique for those neighborhoods. You can do most of that work on the phone, by the way. So you don't really have to go down in the hood when you're looking at properties. I've literally had people take and FaceTime me at their property, take a video and send it to me. I'll tell them like, hey, video, upload it to YouTube. I know that sounds crazy to do that with a seller, but when they're in the hood, they're desperate sellers. They'll do it. I've had almost all the time they're willing to do that. Like, hey, can you got FaceTime? You know what I mean? Maybe because I'm like, instead of me meeting them there and getting carjacked or robbed, or like I've had them put lock boxes on the house for me. I treat it like when they're in the hood, I almost treat it like they're in California. Like, like I can't get there easily because I don't really want to spend a lot of time in really bad parts of the city that are like dangerous, like legitimately dangerous. Just because I want to, up the risk of anything bad happening. Me having to protect myself, what kind of axe in the back of my car I found from one of my rehabs. It looks like a Viking axe from, the Vikings. So next thing you know, I'd be on like TV because I didn't axe some random crackhead or something who tried to like rob me. And like, I just don't, I'm trying to like stay in AA County, man. Stay away from the hood as much as possible. Now I'll go into some areas where it's like a little riffraffy, but if it has ARV, it's not that bad. So if an area has 100, 150K ARV, it's not that bad. I'm talking about the areas where you look back like 5 years and the highest sold's like 13,000. So, there is value. You want to work the leads, and you're going to get leads in those areas. And you tend to get them. Like, I don't even market in those areas, and I get leads from there. So I'm always wondering, like, how did they get my number? But they do. They're always going to call you. So they're always going to respond to that, to your ads. And unfortunately, they're part of the pie. Gerhard, we're talking about, for everyone who's just popping on, we're talking Gerhard has a PPC campaign, what is it, pay-per-click campaign for Google. And, he got 2 leads already for a pretty cheap price. We're talking a little bit about the strategy behind like how to work that and how to make decisions around it. So basically he got 2 leads for a really cheap price. They're not great leads. They're leads in the hood or not great neighborhood, but we're talking about trying to make some money out of them anyhow. What I also noticed lately, I came to a high level conclusion looking at my own account. I realized that I've gotten, a decent amount of leads, and I had like 5 or 6 that were bad leads for a while. When I say bad, meaning not the neighborhood I want to be in. So I start looking at the keywords that produced like those leads, thinking maybe like I can get rid of those keywords. And what I realized is the good keywords that produced my really awesome deal that I'm going to make like 70K on are the same keywords that produce the crappy leads that I don't really love. So it's one of those things. It all kind of comes together, right? You're producing leads of people that want to sell homes. They're good leads, regardless of where they are, because unfortunately, the same keyword that produces a crappy lead that's in a bad neighborhood, but is actually a lead someone wants to sell, they just aren't in the area you want to be in, is the same one that will produce a lead of the area you want to be in. So, you got to take your punches, essentially. Now, when weeding down, what we want to get rid of is any lead that's not like a real lead, like, somebody calling about nothing, saying, I've had ones be like, we buy horses. That would be a bad lead. Like, yeah, man, like, you guys buy horses? I got 2 horses I want to sell. And I'm like, okay, that's a bad lead. And I've gotten those we buy horses before. It's not uncommon. We buy hoes, actually. That was another one. Like, pretty funny how often that comes up. They were actually trying to houses though, so that was cool. Didn't know how to spell. So they were legitimate leads. They just didn't know how to spell. So they just forgot the rest of the word. But they were actually leads. They weren't trying to sell horses. So yeah, just follow through with it. Stick with it. You're doing really well to start with. It's great start off, and anything you can do on the lead itself, just talk with them and get very open minded to anything, right? Anything. And just see what happens, man. Test some stuff before you say it doesn't work, because you really don't have the experience to know yet what works and what doesn't until you've done 30, 40, 50 deals. And then you can start making like some judgments and some decisions. But really your first 50 deals, it's all about staying very open and curious and very humble, because there's so much. I've seen some very dumb people make some serious money because I'm so smart. You know what I mean? I look at it and I'm like, oh, okay, that's got 18 problems. That'll never work because of this. And then some other dummy comes in, he's like, oh, I don't know what's going on. I'll sign it up. And I'm like, and then he sells it for 20K more. And I'm sitting there like with all my analysis and like, oh yeah, so smart, right? I know everything. And I'm like, crap, man, I think I got a little too smart on that one. So I've learned that I have to dumb things down, be very open, and try to clear my head a little on every deal and really look at it from different views. So this is not just for PPC, but this is any lead you get from any marketing. We always want to just be real open with it and just figure out if there's anything there and just like leave no stone unturned. Very, very big, by the way. So awesome stuff. Cool. Hey, everybody, we got Nancy and Jim on, and I just want to introduce them. They're actually new to the group, and they happen to be my neighbors. Didn't even know that, like really close, like 10 minutes. They live 10 minutes from me. So they're close to home. So Nikki's neighbors too. Nikki's actual local. She's in Glen Burnie, and they live in Severna Park, and got a couple flips in Pasadena.
Hi.
Something really cool too that I want to share with the group. Hey everyone. Hey, boss, that was like they're all on. Something I want to share with the group that I used to do all the time, but haven't done in the last couple of years because I guess I just forgot. Like I forgot a lot of great stuff in my life, but they put a sign on one of their flips and actually got a lot of leads from it, like a We Buy Houses sign. And right now they're looking at they got one deal, a second deal potentially right now that looks like it's going to pan out. Looks pretty solid. Just from putting like a big We Buy Houses. Now, did you guys put like what, like a 4x4 We Buy Houses sign, or just
no? It was small. It was small.
Oh, like a bandit sign,
2x2.
just like that size.
Yeah, yeah,
oh, okay, 2x2.
Just in the front yard.
Nice, that's perfect. I used to do that all the time and just got lazy.
Because everybody sees what you're doing.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
And they're delighted to see you doing it. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great idea, and I totally have not done that in like 2 years. And as soon as I heard her say it, I'm like, why did I stop doing that? So when you have so many great ideas, it's hard to remember them all. And for years, so what I used to do for years, the market was in a really different place. I would put a for sale sign in the front yard to try to pre-sell it. But now I don't believe in doing that because I don't want to pre-sell anything. I want to wait and get it on the market and let the competition really drive up the price. And I can't do that if I pre-sell it. But what I kind of forgot was part of that pre-selling was my We Buy Houses. And hey, you want to buy this one, but also I like to buy yours kind of thing. And so when I stopped doing that, I actually stopped doing the We Buy Houses simultaneously because it is actually smart not to pre-house, but the buy houses from the neighbors local around it, that's freaking nuts not to do that. Even down to a marketing campaign, something we did for a while, we would do the sign and we would actually do like a mile radius around the house and send to every address and just send like a letter to them, to everyone, just letting them know, hey, we're rehabbing a house in your neighborhood. And, we were curious if you consider selling your property. If you've thought about selling anytime, either now or in the near future, please give us a call so we can talk a little bit about the value of your property and, what we could offer. And that was it. Like I'd send that letter out to say usually 100 to 150 people around the house. And you do that letter, you do the sign, you can even mention the address if you want, on 123 Main Street, just so they know. Now they're looking at it, they're seeing it, they're seeing the sign. It's like you're almost driving curiosity to what's going on, like you said. So it's always good. Obviously better when you're pulling permits. If you're trying to be a ninja like I am sometimes and not pull permits, then you might want to maybe not put too much attention on your house. Just say I'm doing a house in the neighborhood kind of thing.
Where do you find those addresses?
click to mail is probably one of the best ways to do it. And, you know, it's easiest. You can actually go on what's click to mail is the U.S. Post Office. And basically what they allow you to do is they'll allow you to take and just go and draw a radius from an address, and you can see the whole radius around it. And you just go like a mile around it or something. And, you know, then you would want to weed it down to just like residential homes, not commercial buildings. And you literally just, you won't get that much. And then from there, you can even send out the postcard and everything. And they're pretty affordable too. I think probably for a postcard, it's 50 cents.
Well, that's good.
You could just type a
if
street
not
name
there-
in SDAT.
But this does it for you. It automates it.
Yeah, you can do that too. You can type the street name and ask that. That's the only
Too
thing.
much work.
Yeah, more work. If and again, click to mail used to do this. I haven't used it in years, but it used to let you draw radiuses, and you can even do the mailing route and stuff too. You can actually take the whole mailing route around you and have them. And it's cheap to do that because the mailman will basically put your card with mail that they deliver, so you can get a whole mail route, which is cool. And say like, I want the whole mail route around my neighborhood that everyone who gets something will get something that I get with it too. And that's really cheap when you do that. I think that's as low as like 20 or 15 cents a piece or something. So very affordable. So just sending one postcard, like you said, put the sign up that they can see, any of those things. Or I think just, again, these are small things that totally work. Pay off big over a year, but they require a lot of consistency. So for me, my struggle always, like in life, I have so many things going on, I forget to do the little things. So, you know, we always like, and it's one of those things that won't cost you much per flip. I mean, we're talking like a few $100 a flip at max, maybe even like $100, $200 a flip. You can use the sign that you use there. You can take to other houses. So it's reusable. So it's not like a big, you know, that sign probably cost $100 or something. And, you know, maybe even less. But you can keep reusing this stuff, but it's remembering to do it on every house is the key, because you might do it at no deals, but then you might have a house where like this one where you got 2 deals, and you know that makes up, if you only did that one time a year and you got 2 deals a year and you're making $40K a deal, it's $80,000 for, you know, $100 per flip. I mean, it's crazy not to ever consider like marketing around. And I always think it's good when you market around, because people, the main thing they're always about in marketing is that if they feel like they know someone, right? It's like me. If you've never seen anything from me, you're not likely to coach with me until you've gotten on the phone with me, or you've seen a podcast, or you've seen a video and you've gotten to know me, right? You're like, I kind of like this guy. And well, when you send your letter out and you're like, hey, I'm flipping the house and I'm doing this, you can even put a little postcard, a letter showing what you're doing with it, maybe the plans. I mean, just curiosity based to get them to read it where it doesn't look like a normal letter. It's totally worth sending 100 letters out where you're like, hey, we're doing this. And you know, they might think you're trying to market it or something. You're not. You're really actually trying to market buying their house. But that the curiosity to what you're doing to your house actually will get their attention. And then the whole message you're really trying is like, hey, check out what we're doing, right? But hey, if you're thinking about selling your house, we'd love to buy yours. We're looking for our next project. So yeah, I think the curiosity, people love to see what you're doing in your homes. Like they're, you know, the neighbors are always kind of peeking their head in and you can't get rid of them. Neighbors always like, in good neighborhoods care. In bad neighborhoods, no one cares. I wouldn't send letters in bad neighborhoods, but in your good neighborhood, they definitely care more, and you can get a lot of attention from it. So I think it's a small thing we can all do if we're doing flips. Like, why not? Right? Why not? It's such a small company that I'm using for signs. Where did you get your sign at, Nancy? And do you remember how much you paid for it?
I can't remember, but they were not expensive at all. I think we ordered 10, you know, and we had plans
cool.
to put them other places, but haven't yet.
Okay. So Glory, who's in the lower end mastermind, another example of like being creative, she actually convinced like a bunch of people on Facebook to put "We Buy Houses" on the back of their car, and she's going to give them a referral fee of like $1,000 if she gets a deal. And she has right now 52 people who have it on their car, and her phone literally rings like 5 to 8 times a month. So she's getting like 5 to 8 leads a month from it. Now, you know, that's kind of wild. I think she's the kind of person, she's very outgoing. So she's the type of person who can convince 50 people. I would probably go insane trying to convince 50 people to let me put my bandit sign on the back of their car, but she convinced a lot of people to do it. And how she convinced them is, instead of saying, hey, will you put my advertisement on your car? She's like, hey, you want to invest in real estate? Right? And they're like, yeah, I want to invest in real estate. Cool. Here's how we're going to get you started. We're going to put my thing on your car, and every time I get a deal, I'm going to give you a referral fee. You're going to be my bird dog. And she, instead of telling them they were marketing, they said, you're going to be my bird dog, right? And every call I get, if I get a deal from it, I'm going to get your referral $1,500 depending on the deal. And then, you know, if you can stay consistent with that and keep it on your car and I get some leads, you know, we'll talk about doing some stuff, more stuff in the future, maybe driving for $1 for me, anything like that. So she actually did that. And you'd be surprised how many people will call you and be like, hell yeah, I want to be a bird dog. I want to get in real estate, you know, because they think they're going to be like millionaires, but here's a super simple thing. Like, and she said she can get the We Buy Houses like letters. She's getting it for, I think, $27 or something. So it takes her 15 minutes to put on their car and it's $27. And she gets a different number / extension for every car. So she knows who it's coming from. It's pretty ingenious, actually. Obviously I don't know how scalable it is. And she said it was working for a while. She'd gotten a couple deals that way. And then I got her on the MLS and she abandoned it because she was like, no, the MLS is way better because she can get like deals on demand where like sitting and waiting for your phone to ring on your car. Like that's so you have to have a lot of patience for that. So yeah, because it is a volume game. So anyhow, there's a place online. I think it's 4M Print, or there's a couple places. I think it was not Signs by Tomorrow, but there was Signs something. I have to look it up. But we used to get 4x4 signs, like really big signs that you would plant in your yard. And I mean, they were like $86 for a big one. And if you get a 2x2 sign, you know, you can get it pretty cheap if you go to the right place online. You know, maybe $25 each or something, $30. I don't know. It could be very affordable. You only need a couple if you're just doing a few flips. Just so you have enough for every flip. So small thing, easy to do. No reason not to do it, right? Because, you know, this hopefully will get to the neighbor who was thinking about selling.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we had a time. So I'll give you a great story. And this is 5 years ago. But I put a sign in the yard and the lady next door said she wanted to sell and we ended up getting her flip. And then as we sold those 2 flips, we were like going there to get our signs up. And then the lady across the street said they want to sell. And we ended up doing that one. I mean, these were literally 2 next door to each other and 1 directly across the street. I don't know how you get 3 flips in that small of a radius. That's pretty improbable that would ever happen. But we were shocked. We were shocked by how many, and you know, and then of course, you know how it is in life. Then of course we didn't put a sign on the next house because, you know, I guess we hate money. That's all. I guess that's the only reason. It's a deep hatred of money is the only reason you would. It's no loss. Like, what are you going to lose? Costs nothing. So anyhow, I just wanted to mention that because when I heard about that, it reminded me of what I've not been doing for a couple of years now. I don't know why I'm not doing it. Totally just forgot it. Honestly, good success with it in years. So small details, right? So for everyone else, what does everybody got going on? Nikki and Gerhard, we talked about your PPC. Alec, you got anything? Or Nancy, you got anything you want to go over?
I don't know, struggling, but I'm, you know, hitting the MLS pretty hard, and I'm just not pulling any. I find myself kind of chasing the 3 and 4 star property just because there's nothing else there. So
That's okay when there's no 5 stars.
yeah,
You know, you chase the best ones you have. If there's no 5-star, you go to 4, and no 4, you go to 3. So let me just give you some MLS expectations to set you on mindset. This is in Baltimore, and you're probably more competitive where you are in San Diego. There's been times when my old acquisitions guy was running, you know, MLS for me every day. There's been times when he's went over a month and hasn't gotten a deal, but every single day he spent an hour or 2 on it every day because that was his job, and it took him a month. What has happened every single time, right, is he's always around a month like, dude, what the F? And, you know, should we quit this and do something different? And I'm always like, nope, let's stick with it because that's what you do. And honestly, you know, what you're doing is going to compound eventually. And within usually a few weeks, I don't think it's ever been more than a month and a half of searching. And then usually what happens is all that work he's done is accumulated up and it's compounded up and things shake loose. Like a deal you thought wasn't going to happen shakes loose, and now the work becomes profitable. Because for him, all I need him to do as an acquisitions guy is find me 1 deal a month doing an hour or 2 hours a day. And if he found 1 deal a month, that's totally worth it for the money I paid him. Now, he often would have, like, if he went a month and a half, what almost happened every time is he'd get like 2 deals the following week. We've had many times where we like get nothing for 5 weeks and they get 3 deals in like 2 days because the work compounds, right? And it starts to multiply.
sure, yeah.
And
Okay.
ideally, like anything in life, we wish we could just get on there and every couple days we do it, it would work. And I will say in the last year, I've been able to do that on the MLS, but there's been this higher level of evolution of me being the way I'm looking at it when I'm doing. That's what I'm trying to teach you guys. But it takes time, right? The better you get at it, the faster you get at finding deals on it. And so ultimately when you're new at it, which you are pretty new at it, you just kind of started it recently. You've been messing with it over the years, but you're starting on this system's pretty new for you.
Right.
This is, you consider yourself to be new and just keep doing it and then keep improving it, figuring ways to do it faster, but consistency is what wins. So figure out how you're going to do it every day and take away the necessity to like, I need a deal. Like, right. Your only thing you want to focus on is I did the work today. And I really, there's nothing left on the MLS, old, new, under contract. I've maxed everything out and I put all my feelers out, made my offers, talked to people, made my pitches. I got nothing left. The day's done. All right, go to tomorrow. And then you keep doing it until it works, because it's kind of impossible if you talk to, say, 5-10 people a week that are under contract and ask them, hey, how's things going? Right? Hey, call me if anything goes bad, let me know, and then send them an email with your name and, hey, I'd like to make an offer as a backup offer. Call me if anything goes wrong. You do 5 or 10 of those a week. How long do you think you can go before someone's deal falls apart and they call you? Like, it's impossible for it not to happen eventually. And that's in like Toronto and DC. We use that in those areas and it works like magic. Now, I'm not talking like 10 deals a month, but like if you can get a deal a month doing that, like it's huge to be able to do 10, 12 deals a year just on that one concept.
Sure.
But sometimes a deal a month, like the problem with getting a deal a month, Alec, is that first of all, it's going to be a deal a month once you get your stuff together and you get real sharp at it, which is going to take a couple months of doing it, refining it, getting really smooth with it. But what can happen is you can get a deal quickly. I've seen people go 2-3 months and not get a deal and then get 3. And the thing is, they're still averaging a deal a month, but unfortunately it doesn't come like a consistent paycheck. Right? It won't come in like, oh, okay, it's 29 days. I'm going to get one tomorrow. It's good. No, it might be like 2-3 months sometimes. And then you get 3. And it's a struggle, because I've seen this struggle because I've been doing this for 10 years with the MLS. I've never really stopped doing the MLS other than like a 6-month period where I got convinced that it didn't work anymore. And then somebody told me I was stupid and got me back on it again. And it worked. I just was doing it wrong. Other than that, though, I've seen this happen many times where people 2-3 days into it and are like, this don't work. And I'm like, talk to me in 2 to 3 weeks. And in 2 to 3 weeks, they're like, either have a deal already or they got a lot of stuff in the fire. Seeds have been planted, and it's impossible that something won't, produce fruit, because you plant so many seeds in a month. So I would say keep doing it, but as you are doing it, consistency is king. But make sure every time you do it and every day you do it, just think, instead of thinking of like, hey, it's not working, I'm frustrated, I really need a deal, just think, what can I do to make it better? What can I do to take it to the next level? How much deeper can I go with this? Like, what's maybe an additional thing? And a great thing for you to be able to do is come back to the group and say, I did this thing that Mike didn't teach me, and it was kind of cool and it worked. So get very creative. And how I've gotten all the cool ideas I've come up with has been usually when we've hit a wall and we couldn't get deals. Like, all the best stuff I teach you has come from when we hit dry spots chasing the MLS.
Sure.
And next thing you know, we had 2 choices: give up or get creative. So if you get creative, you can start doing a lot of crazy stuff. I promise you, if there is a deal to be had, I kind of want you to think like, I want any deal there is to be had. I don't want anything slipping through my fingers. If there's one that, sets up for me and is good for me.
Cool. Awesome.
What about, is there any feedback from the group in general of anything that we can give advice to Alec, like some additional things you might do? He knows already, like, to look every day for the stuff that's new. He knows to look for stuff that's been, 30, 60 days on the market and see if they're willing to take less. He also knows to look at stuff that's under contract. Is there any other things that like anyone's ever tried or would like to give feedback on that might work? Or because it's obviously if he's running through those, he might, having some additional stuff he could do would be good.
Hey, Mike, it's Ray. Hello.
Hey, Ray.
How you doing?
I can hear you. Good, man.
Hey, so we had, and I know you echoed this, but we had, and are still having the most success actually kind of being like the rebound buyer. We've reached out and chatted with a lot of, like the bank-owned agents, and they're telling us that like almost all the offers are getting contingencies and all sorts of other stuff. So of everything, I can only speak for our market, but hands down, we've had, I think we told you so down our call, I think our last 3 deals have all been rebound deals where they fell apart, and we had the offer sitting there. So I know he's probably already doing it. It sounds like Alex doing it, but we've actually found that to be the most viable source of the MLS. The new stuff gets scooped up. We'll kind of track it. Somebody pays too much, but they put inspection clauses on it. It'll fall apart. So once it goes under contract, if our offer wasn't accepted, we put a reminder on it 21 days, and we follow up with the agent on day 21 because usually they have a pretty good gauge. And that's been our last 3 deals that we've gotten.
Cool.
So
That's good advice. That's really good advice. And you're getting a lot of newer houses. So I guess you set up, since the houses you're looking at, Ray's houses are pretty, I guess like a homeowner could easily think they could live in them because they're not in great, perfect shape, but they're only like 20 years old. So they kind of look livable from the surface.
Right.
And then probably what's happening is they're getting home inspections and realizing that, hey, there's shit I got to do. Like, holy crap. Like, I don't want to do all that. And then they're falling apart. So Ray's probably losing to a retail person. And then it's setting up nicely for the bank to be like, hey, let's go with this guy who's not retail because we don't want to deal with retail people. Because the bank does get real annoyed when people go to contingencies and then fall apart. And then they kind of get in a spot where like, man, I'm not dealing with that. And they'll sell for less. So, yeah, I love looking at that. I would say look at what you're currently doing and just see if there's any way to up what you're doing or any way to do it better.
Yeah. Yeah, and that would be for sure because I call them like grandma's house. Like they're just not updated. There's nothing preventing them from getting financed, which is usually where I get a deal. However, I can see the value in it going into the bank or the seller, and 3 weeks later they've lost a lot of ground, and now they're willing to take less from a guy that's gonna for sure close because they've already been down a road where someone couldn't close. I didn't want to close. So usually I just breeze by them, but that could open up some,
in the competitive markets, I tend to see in all the competitive markets, it's usually the best way of doing it. In Baltimore, I never get to it, honestly, because my market's competitive, but I honestly can find plenty of deals within like the 30 days on the market and, new to the market. I'm usually finding plenty of deals just in new to the market. So I kind of do things as like a totem pole. I always start with new to the market. If I'm not getting deals there, I go to the next one and the next one. I haven't had to go to the next 2 layers hardly at all. Like, cause I'm generally, and the way I'm looking at it, if I go in there for a day and I don't find anything, I just move on, dude. I got plenty to do and I just do it the next day.
Yeah.
That's the best way to look at it. The way it won't get you too crazy with it. And think of it like going to the gym, man. Don't, if you ever get like an 8-hour day and it gets frustrating if you're like doing it for 5-6 hours a day, but think of it like the gym, man. You're going to go like hour a day, once a day, 5 days a week, right? Something like that for, you're going to get in shape. Around a month, you're going to start feeling strong. And, around 6 months, you're going to have like a 2-pack. You get down like Ray already has like an 8-pack, but I don't know how long it took him to get there, but it was consistency, I'm sure. He wasn't born that way. Ray, are you naturally like cut up, or is it from you go to the gym, right?
let's talk about the MLS.
You don't have to do anything. Oh, okay. Thanks, man. All right.
No.
Already know the answer now. Ray's like, no, I eat cheeseburgers. That's how I get a 6-pack. It's like cheeseburgers and donuts is like it's my workout plan. You can make a lot of money with that, Ray. Seriously. You go out there and show them the cheeseburger and donut plan. Like work out 3 minutes a day and eat cheeseburgers and get ripped up. Well, I would buy that probably. Probably sue you after it didn't work, but no one expects any of that to work anyhow. So they don't think anything works. So think of it like going to the gym though, right? You get if you get too pumped and like you go and work too hard, you're going to get sore and you're not going to be able to work out the next day and stay consistent with it. So because you'll get burnt out from it. So it's way better to be patient and then just do a little each day, but do it every day and just let it kind of naturally come to you. So it's impossible to lose. There are deals in San Diego, but we don't know how many. So, for you, if you got 6 deals a year, you just did an hour a day, it would be great money. But you might have to go and do the next level thing in order to get like 10 to 12, 15 deals. You might have to actually pump some stuff up because the MLS might be might be limited. I know in Maryland, about 17 deals a year is where I started tapping out,
Yeah.
but I probably have more I could do. I'm sure it's a new way I'm doing it. I probably could do more.
Yeah, I mean, the search I do, usually I have probably about 40 properties to look at in a day, meaning 40 new ones. So I don't know how that compares with any of you guys. Like, I mean, so when I put on my plan, what's that?
I'm like 60 to 100, but I'm servicing a much bigger area than you. So I would say we're probably similar. I know you don't go real far out. I'm pretty much going like 45, 50 minutes away to get like 100 new listings a day. Because
Okay.
I want to see everything. Not that I want to rehab something too far away, but if there's a good deal I can get that's 45 minutes away, I might put it under contract and wholesale it off.
Okay.
Or I might do it if I'm desperate. That's the whole thing is I like having deal flow. Like the last 2 weeks, I put 4 deals under contract, 3 from the MLS and 1 from a wholesaler. And I essentially just put them under contract now. I only need like 2 of them. But the other 2 I didn't turn down because like right now what I'm doing is I'm kind of determining which ones I'm going to keep. I'm thinking what my crews are. I'm strategically now deciding which will be best deals for me to keep based on like where my crews are, when I need to settle, the amount of work that's in it, the neighborhood it's in, different things like that. And now I'm going to probably wholesale at least 1 of those off, if not 2 of them. And I'm still looking, by the way. So we're going to continue looking because there's no way to be more abundant than to have more deals than you need. If you pick up something 40 minutes away, put it in a contract named after an LLC, you can take that LLC and just say, hey, Nancy, would you like a deal up the street? And Nancy's going to be like, for sure, if the numbers are good, and I don't get rich on those. I usually make like 5K if I'm selling it to students. If I'm selling it to the world, then I make whatever they'll pay me because I don't want to leave any money on the table. With students, I just take kind of a flat fee for it because it's something I can do with like, no problem. I get deals all day long. Like if I literally had a month where I got 7 in a week, and in May, I got 8 deals in 25 days. So, I mean, like that's how many deals I can get when I put my heart to it. And every one of those deals panned out. I rehabbed 5 of them and sold the other 3 off. And the 3 I sold off, like Robert bought 2 of them or 1 of them. He made good money on it. I think he already settled and ended up making 40K on it, did good money. So he ended up making more than I thought he would get for it. So that was awesome. Did good.
Yeah, and those ones you say put it in LLC, basically selling it.
Thing is though, when I get into it, I get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm putting them in an LLC. So little detail to that is my LLC name is MP Green Management Company. So that's my real name to my company, and that's where I do all my flips out of. But anything that says MP Green on it or MP Green Management, I can take it to the bank and they'll let me put it in my bank account. So if it's MP Green Management 1, 2, 3, they'll allow me to put it in my account even though it's a slightly different name because it starts with the same name. So the reason when I make new LLCs to wholesale off to other people, well, I'm going to get a check, and that check's going to be written out. Like, if I sell it off or, do anything with it, it's going to be written out to that name. And I want to make sure I don't have to go start a whole new account, a tax EIN number and all that. It's a big headache to start accounts and stop them. So I always will take and just do MP Green Management, like some random number. And then I can go online and create the LLC in like 5 minutes. So when I'm buying something I'm not sure with, like this one on Norfolk I got that I basically bought for $56,000. It's about $75K in work and it's worth $210, $220. Right. So this is a good deal. I'm going to probably just sell it for $5K more, but I initially put it in MP Green Management because I needed a deal. And as I was on HUD, the way it works is they're going to verify everything you said. You get 3 days they say, hey, I verify my information's accurate. All you have to do is go right in your HUD account, and you can change the name of the purchaser. So I went right in there and changed it from MP Green Management Company to MP Green Management 198, I believe, or 192. I can't remember. Didn't even have the LLC done. And now I just went and created it online today. My mom did, and we're all good to go. And I changed that because when I started looking at my deal flow and my Trilio, I realized that I kind of like have an extra deal. So, and I thought of the one I'd like to sell most, and that was the one because that was farthest from home. And, now the others were in the county and closer to home.
Sure.
Okay. So one, always gonna sell the Baltimore one off if I can, and not that Baltimore's bad. It's trumped by AA County and Baltimore County. It's always going to be a little better money. So have more abundance in Baltimore City. So I did that because I want abundance, right? And I think a great way to get is where you have more deals than what you need. So when you think of like this wholesaling method, a lot of people are like, Mike, why would you wholesale deals? Well, I don't wholesale to think like I'm a wholesaler. I only do it so I can have abundance in my flipping business. So literally, I never want to sell any deal. Like when I sell a deal, I make 5K, make 10K, I make 30K or 50K, then I'm real cool with selling the deal. I'm like, okay, I didn't have to rehab it, made the same money. But when I'm making 5K, my brain works like, dude, I sold it for 5, I could have made 30 or 40. So like that's a loss of money to me. But the reality is I only have so much manpower and money. So I have limitations. I can never, ever am I going to be able to take in and make this stuff like 100% I buy every deal. That would be foolish because I know after X amount of deals, I become less profitable because I have too much on and things fall through the cracks. Like, like last year I did 71 deals and it was my least profitable year in a long time. And this year I'm on track to probably do like 40. And it's already in the first 5 months, I made more than I made last year. And I'm literally on track to more than double my income from last year.
Awesome,
and I'm gonna literally do half the deals. So like, dude, it's been a good year, but it's been because I stopped focusing on volume and I started focusing on, I don't care how many deals I get. I'm only caring about like every deal making so much money or as much money as humanly possible by cutting the costs, by doing a great rehab, by, working super hard and fighting super hard to sell the deals for the most money and get more money than anyone ever expected. When you do all those things together, you take deals that are supposed to make 30K and they turn into 50K and 40K and 70K. And it's like you've done, anytime you sell something that was making 30 for 60, you've doubled your money without doing the, double the work. And me and Nikki were just talking about this, right? It was like, you don't have to do a million deals, just figure out how to make more on each deal, because any business model, the less work you can do to make the money, the model gets better, right? And the more work you have to do to make the money, that's why, a business that's like, I'm going to wholesale 300 deals a year and make like 400K is a bad business model, because 300 deals wholesale require a lot of people, a lot of marketing, a lot of grind, right? And a lot of moving parts, a lot of room for error. Right. But think I'm going to flip 10 houses a year and I'm going to make 40 each and bring in like 400K minus like maybe 50K in expenses. And I'm going to net 350. That's a strong model, because see, 10 houses, when you get good at it, isn't hard to do. Like when you start really getting good at the contracting, doing the work and really organizing it and get smart about it, like it really isn't hard to do 10 houses a year. I mean, I can do 10 houses a year. Like if people are like, are you ever going to retire? Like retirement for me would be like just laying in my bed at 90 years old and doing 10 houses a year. Like that would be retirement. Like, probably then I can just probably have like a chip in my head that can see what's going on at my flips and, and then have somebody like, washing my butt and stuff. It'd be awesome. Like, why would I ever stop doing it? It's like free money. You have some like nurse, pulling me around. Like there's no reason to retire, right? I mean, this is fun, man, when it's done correctly, but when it's hard, I mean, you can't get out of it fast enough. Like when you're out there, people are messing with you and doing everything wrong, you're like, dude, I don't know how much more of this I can take. And we're tough as people. So sometimes we can make it 3, 5, 10 years doing it, but we're all thinking like, that's why everyone loves the bigger pockets, like build all this passive wealth, because they hate what they're doing. So they want to get out of it as soon as possible. And I have almost no interest in doing that, even though I know I need to start building some passive wealth, but yeah. It's not because I want to be sitting on a beach doing nothing, because I would go insane sitting on a beach doing nothing. And right. I mean, I would like to have that option for about a week. I went to Costa Rica for 2 weeks last year, and that was like pretty awesome. Yeah. It was actually the first time I was like, I kind of would be okay if I didn't come home.
That's
like,
cool.
Usually about a weekend, I'm ready to come home, but this was like 2 weeks in, and I'm like, dude, I could live here. It was pretty great. I was like, it's pretty awesome, because I was working every day for a couple hours, and that's what we're going to be doing when we go on the Mastermind next week. We were actually showing how to work a couple hours a day, right? A couple hours a day from a remote location and keep our 8-hour day business running. So that's what we were going to be working on. And that's what I was doing in Costa Rica for 2 weeks. I every day just woke up in the morning, got everything done. And then by 10 or 11 o'clock max, I was like free for the day and go like hang out with monkeys, rainforest, surfing, whatever I want to do. Go sit on the beach, go listen to some dude playing music on a guitar, whatever I want. There's like so many cool things. So, yeah, it was nice. So we get to do it for a week anyhow soon. So when we're doing these, just think about just keep doing what works, right? Know that it's what works and have faith in it that you will do it until it works. And if say in a couple of weeks it's not working, then every day just keep baking it better, getting faster, doing it. right? Think of, I got to put my work in every day. Like, it's like, you know, you've got a heart problem, you take your cholesterol medicine every day, right? Well, you want a deal, you got a deal problem, get on the MLS every day, and I promise you something will shake loose. The only thing that could have maybe worked with me to convince me it wouldn't have been the case is if you wouldn't already gotten a deal from there. So you've already got a deal from the MLS. So
Yeah, I think that's what ruined me. If it maybe came after 2 weeks, I'd have, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm gonna keep.
well, it ruined you because you got it like in 2 days or
Yeah, it was
something,
like
right?
3
I
days
know. So
in. I'm like, this guy's magic.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, now how many days in from then are you since you gotten back? I mean, how many days do you feel like you've kind of grinded out?
Just probably 2 weeks, if that.
Yeah. So maybe so it's called. So the bottom line is, if you're thinking one a month is good, then unfortunately you got paid in advance on the first one a little bit. So I would just say do the work, but also see if there's a way to improve it. I'm sure there's always. I find it when something's not working for me, it's often a small little tweak or improvement that'll make it start coming together and working. So like, you know, different conversation with the agents, whatever it might be. I know Ray actually knows there's only a handful of people that actually sell most of the deals where he is. So like, he was definitely trying to like build relationships with those handful of people who sell the deals. I don't know if that's the case where you are. It's not the case in Baltimore. We have like 10,000 people selling the deals.
Yeah, it's a million.
Honestly, it's like whoever has the deal of the day. So it's like no use to make a relationship because my job's to search through and just see who got I got a deal lottery, and then make friends with them quickly. Yeah, and that's really all you can do.
I think I usually make that kind of relationship as if I've seen their name around. You know, like I said, I've been doing these flips for 10 years. I was an appraiser for 5 before that. So if there's a name that's going to come up that I recognize, then I'll probably, maybe if it's only a 3.5 star, I'll go show up anyway just to shake a hand and see what's going there. But the rest of them, it's usually just going to be, you know, they get maybe one fixer out of every 100 deals, and if if they're doing 10 a year, then you're never going to see another one. I think that's the case. So
it also just, you know, I'm always trying to track the patterns that win. One of the patterns I've seen with agents is more young and hungry and new to the game and kind of like wanting to do business. So like when you say, hey, I can buy this, I'm a cash buyer, you know, I can give you referrals, you know, we could do more business together. New people are like real open, like, oh, hell yeah. Oh yeah. I want to get him this deal done. Right. Yeah. They think more of it. Right. But you take like a seasoned REO agent, dude, the conversation is very different. They're almost like, I just want to hide, man. Yeah. Like I got like 7,000 phone calls a day. Like, you know, they got like, they're in witness protection. They're hiding. They're just like got weird numbers that route to like their cousin. They just totally don't, because people have driven them crazy essentially. Like they'll get 100 phone calls a day sometimes. When they got 5 or 6 listings, they'll get 100 phone calls a day. So when you call and I'm like, yo, we want to build a relationship, they're just like saying in their heart, F you. Yeah. Like, I don't care. Like really, seriously. But the young, hungry agent is always the one I get the deals done with. Like, so I'm always like, you know, I find that perfect balance. That's the same for wholesalers, by the way, you know, versus working with like a wholesaler that does a lot of deals. I tend to find that any deal I've bought from a wholesaler that does a lot of deals, unfortunately, they're not that great. But when I work with like a young, hungry wholesaler who's a little bit new to the game, they're just good enough that they're actually getting deals, but they have a good mind about them where they're like, I want to get this deal done, then I get deals from them. And that relationship lasts a little bit of time because, you know, they stay in that position for a while. But once they get to where they're smarter, then what happens, we stop doing deals, because when they get really good at wholesaling, then they're like, if they're smart, then they're like, you know, hey, I'd like to get you a deal. And then they're kind of like on the phone at the same time with Nikki, calling her, and Gerhard and Nancy and Jim, right? Everybody, like, you know, they got everyone on the phone fighting, and they're running you against each other, and they're just trying to get the most. So those guys tend to, like, when they get to that point where I call them savvy wholesalers, they always want about 10 grand more than I can pay reasonably without making a bad choice. So the only time I can buy deals from them is what I found is if I'm overpaying and I'm getting something wrong. So anytime they're like, yeah, Mike, I'll take your number, I'm like, okay, cool, man. Send me your other contracts. And then I go back and relook at my comps and figure out what I missed, because 100% of the time I've missed something. And I cannot give you, I got one story in 3 years where I got a deal from like that guy, Terry Royce, who's local, and that was it. And honestly, Terry was out of the country, and he had some dude he's trained who was new, was like kind of running the deal for him. And that was the only reason I got a deal, because that guy was the young and hungry guy, right? He was the young, hungry guy because Terry was out of country and he's trying to like run his business automatedly, trying to make it very automatic. And I just got lucky to get a deal. Now I've seen 20 since then and none of them work. I've seen 150 before that, none of them work. So he's really good. He always puts the deal like just this right here. I'm here, his deal's here. I'm like, come on, man, we're so close. And it's so frustrating. And like literally, if I just go and dig so deep and I go like my complete max, it'll just be like 10K away. And that's really frustrating. So I've noticed the pattern. He's always there. So I kind of like don't look at his stuff more than like 2 seconds, man. That's it. And I just look and say, has he missed anything? And the answer is never. He's always overpaying and then selling for too much. That's his business model. So the young, hungry people who you want to work with agents, wholesalers, anyone, they tend to just have a better chance versus like Gina Gardot, Nikki, right? I mean, I've done a lot of deals with her over the years. I haven't done a deal with her in 2 years, but the 5 years before that, I probably did 10 deals with her. Yeah, I got her personal number, I know her and everything. She knows as soon as I call, it's like, Mike, no problem. I'll put it in for you. She'll put offers in. We never window because she just she's too famous now. Like she is she's done so much REO stuff that she's got 19 people who will pay more than me that look at every one of her listings and put an offer in. So there's zero chance, and her banks that she works with won't accept anything quickly. So they all take my offer and sit on it for a week or two, and they let the slow money come in, and then I can't win. I have no competitive advantage, and she wants me to win. Like she legitimately wants me to win because she likes me and trusts me that I'll settle. And because one thing that pisses her off is like when somebody puts a contract in and they don't follow through, and then she has to do the work twice. So anytime I'm like trying to put an offer in, she's like, oh yeah, I'll definitely get the offer in. Fortunately, every time she's calling like, Mike, I tried my best, and like, dude, this one goofball just come pay like 20K more. It's like, there's no way he's going to make money. She even knows the number. She's like, I don't know what he's doing. But that's what happens when somebody, has enough good REOs that are priced well, then now people follow her. So yeah, I mean, I do have the private number to get to her and all that, but I find it ain't very of much use anymore. The deal that me and Nikki looked at with her, remember the deal we looked at around the corner from your house? I think we looked at it with Kristen too. And we were in on that deal like Flynn, and she was like, I'm getting this one done. And like literally right before she got it accepted, she was like, fuck, she was this effing goofball come in and he 20K more, and he's using hard money, your cash, but he just 20K more than you. I have no clue where he's coming.
They've never done anything with it. It's still sitting there with trees growing out of it.
I know. So good. I mean, obviously that was a long time ago. That was 6 months ago, right?
Yeah, it was definitely a while ago. I would say
it was like April.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really long time ago. So I don't know what the heck they're doing now. What are they waiting on? So anyhow, that's probably who bought it. The same person who paid too much is the same person who takes 6 months to start it. Obviously, so he's compounding his mistakes, or her, whoever, I don't know. They're compounding their mistakes for sure. So anyhow, that's what happens when people are well known. What we love is the agent no one knows. The agent's like Bob Jones, and it's like, who the heck is Bob Jones? No one's ever heard of him, and he just got one REO, and like he gets 2 a year, and just happened to get one price. That's the guy that'll take your phone call because no one calls Bob Jones. They're like, who the heck? He's like, oh, you're calling me? I'm happy to talk to some people. Like, no one knew me before I got this one REO that's underpriced by 20K. Now all of a sudden I'm famous. And but like he's happy to get the deal done for you. He's happy to work it out. And but he probably will never have a good deal again, unfortunately. But if he does, he's your guy for life. And Gina's awesome too. She's just too popular, right? She's just like, I've never seen anything like it. Like every person in the world just looks at her deals. So this is really important. I know we're spending a lot of time on it, but it's a really important concept that we should be considering, because the secret to making money with MLS is always going to be the better you get at going directly to the best deals and understanding the most profitable patterns is always going to be how you make money, right? And the very profitable patterns with the MLS, and I'm going to break down the deals I just got so I can give you some feedback on some of the things that work for me. Deal I got the other day was a HUD deal, and I got it for $89,000. It was listed for $98,000. It was on the market for a couple weeks, and it said it was a 2-2, but it said it was 1,385 square feet. So I thought to myself, and I looked at the shape of the house, I know the neighborhood. I'm like, there's no reason that shouldn't be a 3-2, or and probably if I can finish the basement, I can make it a 4-3. I get there, and guess what? I can make it a 4-3. And by the way, that wasn't in the pictures. There's a freaking built-in pool in the backyard. So I'm like, built-in pool, the comps went from 220 to 260 instantly. So I'm like, because I got 4.3 now instead of a 2.2, I got a built-in pool. I can finish the basement. Like I can put a master suite in it, nice big open living room, dining room, kitchen. This was over on 13 Glenmore. So this is in Baltimore County. It's in the county side. So it's pretty awesome. And I'm really happy with it. It's worth 260. I picked it up for 89. It needs 60 more. So it's a 50K deal. Really, really happy about that. But the pattern that you want to watch out for is something that's mislisted, right? It was a 2-bedroom, but you're looking at it saying, I think this could be a 3-bedroom, like, because it's going to run a lot of people off. There's like most people will not flip a 2-bedroom, especially where we are. 2-bedrooms are not that cool, so they won't flip a lot of 2-bedrooms. Right. So, but they see it's 2-bedroom. A lot of investors have told their agents, don't even send it to me, kind of thing. So now I look at it. I just don't want to look at a 2-bedroom that's 700 square feet because that's truly a 2-bedroom. Now, so that was one deal. The second deal I got was the one that was on it's in a iffy neighborhood of like Forest Park. Robert, one of the higher level students who's not on the call, does like, I don't know, he does 15 houses a year in this neighborhood and crushes it because he knows the neighborhood. He sells them all for like 250 to 300,000 and they go all day long. They're these nice, big, beautiful homes. I seen one that's on the street, Norfolk, it's called, and it's on a part of the street where there's row homes across the street, so it's not as desirable as the part where there's other single families. Now, the stuff that doesn't have row homes across it, just a block or two away, is 240 for the house I'm getting at 2,000 square feet. Going to be 6 bedrooms, 3 baths, or maybe 5 bedrooms, 3 baths, master suite. You know, the open concept, we love everything. No finished basement on it, but it's got 3 stories of a lot of living space, right? A lot going on there. That house I picked up for 56,000 and it needs 75K in work and it's worth like 240, 260 is the ARV, but I'm going to price it at about 210 because I'm across from the row homes. So I'm doing what I call a drastic price reduction to account for the fact that I'm across from those row homes. Those row homes, by the way, are selling for 159. So I'm thinking to myself, it makes easy sense that if they're selling for 159, then why in the heck wouldn't I be able to get 200K for a house that's double the size, single family? You know, I'm only looking to get 40 more K. I'm thinking this could have a lot of upside, by the way.
Sure.
But I don't worry about the upside. I let the upside come. If it comes, I'm happy. If it doesn't come, I'm almost guaranteed going to get my 200K for it. So I'm not worried about it, right? Does that make sense? So the key is I'm always like being very cautious. The reason I won this deal is because everyone else looked at it and said, oh, it's got row homes across the street. I don't want this. But I'm just like, okay, yes, it is less valuable because of that. But I just said, what would be the stupidest price I could put on it that I know that people would be like, I don't care if there's a home across the street. I can afford to buy this. I can't buy anything else in the neighborhood that has this size. If I want, I'm the only house for 210. Does that make sense? I'm going to be the only house for 210 of this size. I'm going to attract someone who's willing to buy this, but I had to creatively think and be very resourceful for it. So, and there's enough spread in it that if it only sold for 180, I'd still make 30K. I had seen nothing that sold for 180. That's just like not rehabbed, at least. I've seen some unrehabbed houses selling for that. So that's how I got that deal. The third deal I got is actually where we just did the walkthrough George, and we have that on the market for 250. It's same kind of house, and it's on a super busy street. Now, same thing, right? Super busy street. I put a 205 ARV on it. I got 250 on one that's exactly the same, but not on the busy street. Now, busy streets, what I believe on busy streets is I'll do them, but only on one circumstance, that there's clear comps on the busy street. So I happen to have one 3 doors down that was lesser of a house than mine that sold for 210. So when I put and it was across from a Royal Farms, which, you walk across, get your chicken or whatever, that's cool. But like, I'm actually about 10 doors up where I'm not across from the Royal Farm. So I'm in a pretty cool spot that gets a little more chilled down. It's not got any craziness of that traffic. So I'm a bigger house, I'm a better location, and they were 210, took about 35, 40 days to sell. I'm probably coming out at like 205. And I bought it for 89, putting 60 into it. That puts me about 150 in, and selling it for 210. That's about 30, 35K profit. Also, I bought that, it's close to Tanya, so it's very close to home, about 5-10 minutes actually away. So I can go see it quite often. So pretty easy, nice deal, not hard at all. And I think it's only 55K in work actually. So it's a solid deal. And I got that one because it was on the busy street. Everyone's seen the busy street. It also has a weird layout too. So another thing that I get, that's another common thing, is the layout. I'm going to meet with Steve, and me and Tanya are meeting here tomorrow. It has about 1,600 square feet, but man, it is really funky laid out. I have to like go there and work some magic. So the key is I know there's enough in the 1,600 square feet that I'm not going to have a problem. It has a full basement I can finish. So within that space, I'll have no issue getting 4.3 in there, getting 3.3, something that'll work. That'll get me 205. So the key for that is that I look past the fact that it's on the busy street, and I look past the fact that, you know, it's okay, it's really oddly laid out, because I know I'm going to get in there and make it not oddly laid out by the time it's done. Since I have 1,600 square feet, I got a lot to work with. I'll be able to make that work. So I got that deal for that, simply for that reason. People are just busy street. Nope. The last deal that I just made a bunch of money on, I bought from a wholesaler on Northern Parkway next to Valentino's, which is a super busy restaurant. I mean, crazy busy street. The only reason I bought it is because I had sold 2 houses within 2 blocks of that on that busy street. They went for 230. I took this and said, you know what, I'll just put it at 210. You know, because I'll just make it cheaper just to be safe, since it's on an even busier part of the street than my other 2 houses. My house ended up turning out really nice, and I listed it for $214,900 and got $235,000 for it. So I have no clue how I got so much more. But again, it was a beautiful home, done really well, and no, but they didn't care about the busy street because there was other things that had sold on the busy street. Now, there's commonly times when you look on things on busy streets and you just pull the street and you go back 1,000 days and there's no comps. I would actually stay away from those, because I don't want to be the first to sell on the busy street, because I just don't, it's hard for me to make a really strong, smart guess when I don't know. I can't see what others have done on that busy street. Effectively, any comp I look out off the busy street is a bad comp. That's essentially a really bad comp. They could fool me into believing of incorrect price. So I only pull the street. I'm willing to go even 1,000 days back, because I think 3 years back, I'm fine with that. But I really want to see a comp on the street like my house and see what did it do? What is the highest sold on that street? So that's how I handle streets.
Could it be like, say, if there's another busy street 3 blocks away? I mean, you know,
Yeah.
would that satisfy you? Yeah, I mean, in the way of like a comp.
That would be like my B comp, but that would work. I mean, yes, if I would take that. What I won't take is one that's not on a busy street.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that absolutely. I don't know if that comes up too often, but if it did, I would be open to that, because I would consider that to be similar, right? As a similar problem of being on the busy street. So yes, I would prefer on my street. I actually will usually just pull my street and go 1,000 days back, and I look at everything that's sold for 1,000 days. If I don't see anything in 1,000 days that it's like, you know, 210, then I'm out. So I actually found 2 properties. One was 220 and one was 210, and that was 1,000 days back. The one was only 6 months ago, and the other was like 18 months ago. By the way, 18 months ago actually plays really well in my favor too, because I feel like the markets went up in the last 18 months. So I'm feeling really good about those comps. But I'm on a busy street, so we never know how people are going to take it. You know, maybe the buyer's pool at that specific time is like, heck no, I don't want a busy street. So I want to make sure the price is so good on it that someone's just going to be like, this is a really good price, I'm taking this.
Yep. Yeah.
So if things are selling 240, 250, me being at 205, I'll convince someone to buy, because you know there's going to be someone who wants the 250 house, but it's only approved at 205, 210. That's the person I'm going to get to buy this house. You know, it's just going to be like, I don't care about the busy street, and I love Royal Farms chicken, and I can walk right across the street and get it. So like totally, you know, get the chicken's hot, right? And everything else great at Royal Farms. Royal Farms is awesome, man. It's like, that was the best chicken in the world. So, yeah, great chicken. You know? You don't have any Royal Farms out there, right?
No.
It's too bad for you guys.
Yeah.
You're missing out. You know, people are probably afraid to eat anything that's got grease in it out there, right? They don't gain.
No. Fat's good for you, man. Sure.
No, I don't think that fat at Royal Farms chicken is good for you. Just for the record. That's not the good fat. That's the fat that like gives you a stroke when you're 27.
One other question. I've heard you saying going back 1,000 days. That would be tough here. Just because the market's gone up so much, you know what I mean?
It has, but so, all right, well, think of it like this. It's went up, and that is tough. And yes, am I going to take 1,000-day-old comp and be like, it's the gospel? No, but I can start making an educated guess that if it was like 220 or if it would have said 190 and it was 1,000 days ago, I in my head would have been like, that kind of supports a 205 number I was thinking. Don't you agree? Because I'm like, it's definitely went up. I don't know how much it's went up, but I'm just using it to kind of like, I feel like a 1,000-day-old comp that's exactly the same as yours on a busy street is way more clear as a comp than say taking something 2 blocks away in a cul-de-sac that's quiet and, you know, kids can play in. It's just completely different, even if
Yeah,
it's the same
right.
house. So the big mistake that most people make is they'll actually use the comp from the cul-de-sac and then say, oh, well, you know, I just took 20K off, or some people be like, I didn't take anything off. Like, I took 5K or nothing off even, or like 5 or 10K is like nothing. 20 or 30K is a minimum. I tend to go crazy on it. But I let the comps tell me on the main street, and the comps are pretty clear on the main street. They're selling for very low 200, like just above 200.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
off the main street, like 230 to 250. So it's a, you know, they're pretty clear in this situation. That's why I decided to do the busy street. So I got a deal because of the busy street. I got a deal because of the 2-2. I got a deal because it was in a weird neighborhood and no one really seen the value there. So you can see the pattern is I'm seeing things that other people aren't seeing. Right.
Yeah.
It's not often, this isn't because I'm just a master and I'm finding deals and I'm grinding it out. When people tell me they can't find deals on the MLS, I can conclusively tell you in Baltimore or Maryland that, you know, Maryland period, that you just don't know that you have a deal in front of you. And that's what you want to work on. So challenge yourself. If you're not finding deals, challenge yourself to look at them a little differently, to try to find out what you could or could not do. Is there an opportunity to change it around? Like, just get super resourceful with it, because there's often deals there, and more competitive the market is, the more the more creative you need to get around it. So
Sure.
but I've been doing this whole busy street, weird layout. You know, I've been doing that for 10 years. I've never stopped doing it because, like, if I'm always trying to find ways to make a deal work. Now, I've gotten in trouble with that in the past, but now I'm kind of down to a science, because in the past I would use the comps from the side street and be like, 20K sounds good. And then I'd find out it was 35 and I lose 15K. I would end up like losing 15K of profit because it sit on the market for a really long time.
Right.
So what most people would do, and I think I did for a while, my partner convinced me to do for a while, is be like, hey, we're not doing busy streets anymore. And eventually I started realizing, like, well, we don't need to, like, let's not penalize busy streets because I was too stupid to figure out what a busy street's worth. Like,
Right.
it wasn't the busy street's fault, right? I mean, it was
Yeah.
my fault. Sometimes the busy street don't give you enough information, but when it does give you the information, it's there. Listen to it. Don't go listen to, you know, what you want. So often we were making deals happen that didn't work, is why we didn't make money on them, instead of really listening to the market, the comps, and paying attention to what the math is telling you. So yeah, busy street's fine. And the fourth deal I got is actually just a really nice deal. Came from me calling a wholesaler and just seeing what was up with them. And he's like, I'm working on this thing, and you know, you might be interested. And I was like, yep, I'm interested. And I went and seen it. It's a little bit weird. I'm trying to figure out right now kind of how to work the deal out, but because it's in a trust or something, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to do it. I just don't understand how it's like in a trust and they're making me the beneficiary or something. So I've heard that's tricky, and you know, I got to make sure my lender is going to be okay with it, but I'm sure we'll be able to work it out if anyone can. So, but I made a call, and that's what I do with wholesalers. You know, if you've got some people you've done deals with, this is the person I did Ardmore with. And so I was like, what's going on? You know, how's everything going? And I never call and say, hey, Alex, do you have a deal? I always call and say, hey, Alex, man, how you been doing? And, you know, what have you been up to? Right.
Yeah.
It's pretty standard. What have you been up to? Well, rarely ever will they be like, well, you know, man, I've been working on my personal growth, and, you know, I got this, you know, tumor on my side, and I don't know, and I got gas and stuff. They'll generally talk about business and, like, you know,
Oh, the chicken place too much.
yeah, I was going to Royal Farms chicken too much, and I got bad arteries now, right? So they'll talk about, like, hey, man, I've been I've been doing this marketing thing and it's been working really well. They'll talk about business. So generally they'll tell me a lot about how they're finding deals, which I find highly interesting, right? I always want to know anything anyone's doing to find deals. So that's a cool conversation to get to have. And we build a bond around that, right? Because sometimes I'll coach and help them or give them some feedback, or I'll just be a good listener. Either's fine. Yeah, you don't have to coach them. You don't have to feel like that's necessary. Just being a good listener will be the secret. And I just, like, you know, I'm generally interested in what they're saying. And then usually at some point they'll like, most of the time, say, I'm working on, and I'll be like, hey, what are you working on right now? You got any deals you're working on? If they don't tell me, and then they'll be like, yeah, I'm working on this one, and it's probably be a good fit for you. And I'm like, hey, man, well, listen, I know you probably don't have it under contract yet, but I'd be open to looking at it for you and just giving you a feel for the comps and stuff. Maybe I can comp it for you, and just, you know, only thing I'd ask, like, if you get it under contract, man, give me a shot at it first before anyone else. And every single time they're like, sure, man, I love working with you. So there you go. Now, is there a better time to get a wholesale deal than before it actually hits the market? No, obviously, because once it hits the market, now you got to deal with everyone else.
Right.
And maybe that deal goes for a lot more than a wholesaler expected. And once a wholesaler senses that's going to be the case, they won't act quick. They won't quickly sell it to you for X. So I've had, in these scenarios, by the way, both of these people, they made the last deal this guy sold me made 55K. 55K, and I don't know what they're making on this one. I'm sure they're doing well. They're probably making at least 10 or 30K, 10 to 30K probably. I've never seen them make anything under like 20 or 30K. So they do short sales, and they make a lot of money on them when they do them, but it takes a lot of work to get them done. And but they make a lot of money when they do get them done. And so I'm really happy to have that, right? So there's my 4 deals I've done in 2 weeks, and I really just wanted to share those with you because you can see there's patterns to what's working for me, and it's not like what you probably were thinking. Right? It's the little angles that I create. It's the angles that I'm able to create to make a deal happen.
Right. I got you. Well,
So when you're looking, like for everyone listening, when you're looking, look for something, look for an angle, look for something that doesn't add up that might, get other people looking at it and saying, I don't like that you could fix, that you could bring a solution to.
right.
So one of Nancy's deals that I'm going to actually see with her tomorrow, or no, it's tomorrow's Wednesday, Thursday, is really weird looking, right? It's a funny looking house in Pasadena, but we're going to go and try to figure out how to solve that problem because I think it's like a good house, right? It's got over 2,000 square feet, a lot of house there, right? It's got a lot good stuff going on, great neighborhood, a lot really good happening with it, but it has a problem of being weird, and we need to solve that problem, and that's what me and her and Jim are going to try to do. We're going to try to figure out, okay, what can we do to solve that problem? I'm confident we'll be able to solve the problem once we get in there and put our minds to it.
Of course we will.
I know, of course we will, but I hope we will. I've never not been able to solve the problem, but we want to really get in there and just figure out what's possible and then recomp it once we get a final design and number and just make sure the numbers still work before she follows through with it. Because she wants, we're just trying to make sure that before she goes for, it's a 400K deal. So we want to make sure that it's going to be a decent deal before she gets into it. So anyhow, that's what we're looking for. If we can, I can tell you that house will be, that's a house that not every investor would take.
I know.
Not traditional, but if you're looking for just traditional homes that just you walk in, you're like, oh, okay, the master's here, everything's where it belongs. Good luck, man. Because if retail people can walk through and see the vision, then you're not going to ever beat them because they'll pay numbers that make no sense. They don't do no math, essentially. They'll pay numbers that are just going to cause them to lose 20K. So when the house doesn't make sense is where you get an opportunity to make it make sense. And hopefully to the level where others don't see it. That's why I believe in getting really, really good at layout design, just being able to walk in and hack a layout. I think that's the secret sauce to winning deals, why other investors are like, yeah, missed that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, look what Alec and all these Gerhard and Nikki and Nancy and Jim did with this. Really amazing. So yeah, we did that. The one house I got from the wholesaler, I made a lot of money on. It was only 1,040 square feet. And when I walked in it was packed to the ceiling with stuff. So I could barely see the rooms and they were tiny. So, and I was like, it's got 3-1 upstairs. And I was like, I think I could put a bath in the basement, at least make it a 3-2. So I was happy with that. I get into it and I realized there was front porch, screened in porch, and I put windows on it and I made it part of made a master suite and made that part of it and started incorporating everything. And next thing you know, by the time it was all done, I ended up having 4 bedrooms, 3 baths with a master suite and a full layout. And it turned out absolutely beautiful layout. And instead of getting $230 for it, I got $265 for it. And it only cost me $7,000 more to make it look like that. So it was that was the miracle of making the design better. Yeah. So I was really pumped about that. And honestly, that's how I got the deal because it was a scenario. Again, it was that new guy who was hungry, but also he was doing windows of showings because the hoarder was living in the house and no one showed up to it but 2 people. So just him doing where people couldn't go, it wasn't a go and show where they could see it any time. And he had to see it during a 1 to 3 session. And he's like, yeah, you're the 3rd person to come. I'm like, amazing. 3 people are competing with me. And you can't see the floor in the house. That's awesome. And it looks like it's super small, but I'd already in my head, if as much as I could see, I'm like, well, I at least can do this with it. And I know this neighborhood's really selling for more than anyone knows right now. People are probably they don't understand the new comps of this neighborhood. The neighborhood had traditionally been a 210 neighborhood. Now all of a sudden, I got 265. So it tells you 265 is not a number in Brooklyn Park that I've ever thought could happen. It's crazy to get 265 in Brooklyn Park. It shows the market's doing really well. It's where I grew up in Brooklyn Park, so not a great neighborhood. Not a great neighborhood for that exactly. So anyhow, again, seeing the vision when others aren't seeing it, and when you start looking through your 100 listings, you're basically looking, saying, nope, 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 too nice, too good, yep, not too much. Oh, hold on, this one's a dump, and they don't want a lot for it. So what am I doing then? I look at the pics, start saying, is there any potential to reorganize it? Price is reasonable. It's in bad shape, so I know I can bring value to it. It's completely weirdly laid out, or it's not very optimally laid out, so I know I can actually go change it into something special, and not everyone will see it. There you go. I'm saying like that becomes something I start working on. And honestly, if I look through 100 houses through my big wide radius I do, generally 2 houses is all I'm looking at, Alex. That's like one out of like maybe 1 to 2 out of 100.
Okay.
So that's the math. If you're looking at 40 a day, then you might not find one, but every, maybe 1 or 2 every couple of days.
This is about what I'm getting. So, I mean.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like it's right on track then.
Okay.
Perfect. So maybe consider expanding more, digging more, right? Expand more, dig more. Know that if you get something that's a little too far for you, you don't necessarily have to do it. You could put it under contract and sell it to someone else willing to pay too much. That's a real thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Because they're out there. Cool. Any other questions? Anyone else I can help? We went on a long time about that, but I know that's like everyone here is, obviously looking for deals. So I figured that'd be really helpful.
Do you have lists of people that will pay too much?
Well, the MLS is the secret to them. So, yeah, I have a list that I spent about $100,000 to make, to create over a couple of years, just through building. It's like it was 100,000 people at one point.
What?
And it's down to like probably 3,000 or 4,000 now, because I haven't done anything with it 3.5 years, because what I discovered 3.5 years ago is I took my 100K list that was 100,000 people, and I put something on the MLS, and it crushed the results of my 100,000 person list. Who would have guessed? Because here's the way to really think about it. I had to do a lot of self, like what in the heck, man? Like, how in the world is MLS crushing my list of 100,000 people? Well, my list of like 100,000 people is essentially anyone who had ever thought about doing real estate, anyone who had flipped a house ever in Maryland. I had their name on a list that I had built over a couple of years, and they were investors. Now, the MLS, actually, I look and call them more like retail investors, because they're like, hey, I'm thinking about doing it, and their only person who is teaching them is a realtor. And a realtor is definitely talking to them retail, yeah, you make 10% on that or something. I don't know. They're talking numbers that don't make sense. They're showing them ARVs that are 20, 30K too high. So if you take a deal and you get it under contract, if it's not from the MLS, then you can put it on the MLS. For there's a listing service Gerhard used. I forgot the name of it, but if he's listening, he can share it. And he like $100, he put it on for like, I don't know, 60 days or something. And he was actually able to sell his stuff himself and get it. Once you get it to the MLS, it's it's the biggest buyers list in the world, but not just the biggest buyers list in the world, but it's got the most retail people on it that are ready to pay numbers that are much higher than they should pay. So if you want to know the best way to get too much, just list your property. If it's on the MLS, you lose that opportunity. That's why often when I buy from the MLS, I just sell it to a student for $5K and call it a day, because I don't feel like going through the headache of putting it on like a bunch of different meetups and Baltimore RIA, all these different meetups. I'll put it on. I put it on Facebook pages, Craigslist, and I send it out to my list, which is down to a couple thousand people now. And I do that every day until I sell it. And my phone, if priced correctly, my phone rings a lot every day. But if I then add the MLS in, my phone is out of control. Like my phone literally has times where we actually decided we needed a new number, because I was putting my phone number on it, and like my phone would actually just go dead by like 9:30 in the morning from ringing. So yeah, I decided to get like a Google Voice and have somebody call it. So we talked to a lot of people. Unfortunately, so the downside of putting it on the MLS is you got to weed through. You're going to get a lot of people are like, yeah, Nancy, that looks like a great deal. I'll take it for that number. Oh man, I'm serious. I'm buying this. And you're like calling them, you can't get a hold of them. And like, they're they don't think very much before they act. And, they're all pumped up, but then they don't follow through. But when you talk to 25 people, there'll be a few people willing to follow through at that higher number. And when I say the higher number, generally, like, if you're working with just investors, you easily get 10K more from someone who's more of a retail investor, simply because they probably are just going to, first of all, they might, if you're at 30K profit, they're probably thinking 20. So right off the bat, there you go. Second thing that I've seen a lot that I've sold to, which I call like a unicorn situation. And funny enough, like Nikki and TJ kind of fall into this unicorn situation, but the wife is a realtor and the husband's a contractor, and they're able to just do it because they save the realtor commission in one part. The contractor can do the work cheaper, and they're totally cool just making like 30K a house, and they're cutting their costs big time because they're doing the work cheaper and they're selling the house for free. Like for on their end, at least they're only paying half the realtor commission. So they right off the bat, like they can make the same money as us, and they can do that without Gerhard, if you look in the chat, he just put the name. It's called xrealty.net. I'm gonna try to remember that. xrealty.net is where you can list it if you're not a realtor. Nikki, you can obviously list it.
We run into that owners.com also.
Okay, owners.com. Okay, cool. So yeah, both very affordable ways to get on the MLS. So, and you don't have to do it through your agent, because you ask your agent to do it, they're going to, it's going to be weird. Broker's going to be like, why aren't we getting paid the normal amount? And you don't want to, you want to pay the person coming to you, the agent bringing that retail person to you, but you don't want to actually pay like the other agent putting it up other than $100. And when you ask any agent, will they list something for 100? Their broker's pretty much going to be no. But these companies, they just make all their money doing that for you. So yeah, last deal I did that with, we listed, we wanted to buy it for 65. We put it under contract for 75 and listed it for I think 95 and got 97 for it, and ended up making 22K for it. The ARV of this house was 160 and it needed like 65K in work. So I sold it for 97. Run those numbers in your head. I sold it for 97. It needed 65K in work, and it was worth 160. So it's 100% of ARV I sold it for.
Good
So
job.
yeah, I mean that's overpaying. I mean, that's not on me. I was just found the right person. That's all it is. It's just really getting out there and getting in front of the right person. It was probably the only person that would buy it. The person was, I think they were looking at comps and thought it was a 200K house, but what they didn't know was, and this was the tricky part of it, and I almost fell for it, is the other side of the street had houses selling for 200, because behind the houses on the other side of the street was a community garden. So the alley was amazing, right? Everybody went out there and picked tomatoes together and did gardening together. And the other side of the street where my house was, there was a Mexican chop shop. There was just like Mexican dudes out there with like car motors sitting on the side and engines. And it was a pretty wild scene there compared to the yuppies on the other side that were like, just living in a utopia in the middle of Hollandtown. So it was pretty interesting. It's by Patterson Park. And so like not knowing that the Mexican chop shop like made a huge difference. So what I did, Nancy, to know this, is I pulled just that side of the street for 1,000 days back. The highest sold was 160. On the other side of the street, the highest sold was 260 for the same house almost. So yeah, the yuppie garden really made a big difference. And I would have almost missed this myself, because I was like, yeah, it's definitely 200. And then when the people said yes to the number that worked for me, what do? I always go back and second guess myself and say, you know what? That was too easy. What did I miss? And when I started looking, I'm like, let me see the video. And I was like, dude, there's a Mexican chop shop in the backyard, man. These dudes look wild. They got like Mexican music playing, and there's like tacos cooking on a truck hood. It was like pretty funny. And then I'm like, let's look at the other comps. And then you seen the pictures of the gardens, and it's like community garden. And I was like, oh dude, that's like yuppie utopia on the other side. Like they're just loving life. Like it was pretty cool for the city to have that. Anyhow, these are things you got to pay attention to. Sometimes you see the side of the street, but does that mean just because you know it that everyone's going to catch that? No, like 99% of people won't catch that or care. So and she was kind of a jerk, so I'm kind of almost glad anyhow, because she was really kind of like rude to my guy that works for me. She like cussed him out a couple of times for no reason, and I was just like, dude, we're making 22K, man, just suck it up and be like, no problem. He was getting emotional about it because he's like, hey, let nobody disrespect me. I'm like, dude, it's 22K. Let them do whatever they want. Like we got to get that money in there, and we don't have a secondary buyer that's going to pay this much money for it. So, yeah, man. Just take it on the chin. Let's move on. That is so yes, the MLS is the best way. Owners.com and xrealty are the two that looks like Gerhard said he used, and they were very affordable, and they got the phone ringing with retail people.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep, that's how you buy stuff for too much and sell it for too much. It's a technique people are using. just set yourself up in the deal correctly. So when you asked me about, like, I think setting yourself up correctly, and I think I sent you like a vague, get the house under contract, but leave yourself some room. So like just putting it under contract, you can do partners approval, 10 days or 7 days for partners approval. You can, that's one out you can use. You can say, inspection if you want. I like to say partners approval or due diligence, just saying 7 days for due diligence. I think it sounds softer than a home inspection.
Yes.
Because people hear home inspection are like, oh, you're going to inspect it? Like, it's going to be awful because it's like just such a bad house. So they think you're going to be like, So I rarely ever will put an inspection clause in. I'll literally just be like due diligence.
Okay.
Yeah, like, what's that? I'm like, I just need to do some additional research to confirm everything I think. Make sure my partner's okay and all that.
Okay.
Most of the time it's not a problem. And they're like, okay, that's fine. And that way you're locked up and no one else can come steal it from you. And while you're, one of the worst things that happens is if ever is a good deal, what I will tell you is your worst enemy is time. Like, a good deal in like a couple days is just enough to lose it. And I mean, in the 10 years I've been doing this, I've had nothing less than probably 10 or 12 deals I've lost because I was slow to react because I was busy or something and I just got slow. I had a deal actually just a week ago I lost and I seen it and I was like, I could have went out that day to see it. And then I said, I'll send Tanya tomorrow. And I sent her tomorrow. And then it was on the market when I sent her in the morning. By the time she got back by like 1 to show me the video, I said, oh man, this is a home run. I could offer 191 on for it in Pasadena, by the way, and it was listed on Sillery Bay. It was in Pasadena, where 400K on like an acre, 2,000, 2,300 square foot house, roughly acre. Great part of Pasadena, not far from where yours is, and I could have got it for. It was listed for 139. It offered 191 on it, and by the way, which instantly would have got accepted. So, of course, that that little bit of slowness was the reason that I missed it. So, I mean, I was being a little bit slow. And so what we try to do, that was a 5-star deal for sure when I'm offering 50K more than what it's listed for. So whenever I see those, I prioritize. I didn't realize that it was a 400K house, to be honest. I just think Pasadena, and I don't think 400K all the time. But when you get down to really good parts of Pasadena, then it is 400K. I lived in Pasadena. It was more like 325, 350. So, I always think like 350 max, right? I'm not thinking 400. And when this was a 400, I was like, crap. Because I was thinking I could offer full price, which is, okay, get on it. But, but offering 50K more is my specialty. Because I'm the only one that has the heart to do it. Everyone else is trying to get rich. Everyone else is thinking, well, I'll just offer 10K more, 20K more. So whenever I get an opportunity to offer 40 to 50K over list, I win like 90% of the time. And I'm sure the person that bought this did not pay 191 for it. And it was a 60K deal at 191. It was a great deal. It was like 60K. So anyhow, sad about that. Lesson learned. But, I looked at like 8 deals. So unfortunately, I couldn't get to all of them. My busy schedule, coaching and everything.
Give me a call next time, Mike.
If I knew it was that good of a deal, I would have got there myself. Problem was, Nancy, I didn't know it was a good deal like that. I thought it was just like a normal deal.
Yeah.
And then when I realized it was 400K, I realized, holy crap, this is a super deal. And then I'm like on my computer real quick, like pulling up HUD Home Store to get the offer. And it's like it wouldn't come up and it was gone. That's what happens when someone gets it under contract. They just take it off HUD Home Store and you can't even bid on it. So I was like, oh man, they got me. They got me in my own move. That's why when I see something I like, I don't try to get the numbers right. I'll just go in and make an offer because HUD, if it's over full price, HUD will accept it very quickly.
Oh, good.
It will accept it very quickly. So anytime you see a HUD property let me close the door real quick. Anytime you see a HUD property you can pay list or better for, you'll get that offer in instantly.
Okay.
So I've got 3 right now that I'm tracking that will be open to investors. And I think like Wednesday, tomorrow, actually. So if I'm up tonight at 12, I'll put the offer in at 12:01. And if not, as soon as I wake up at 6, it'll be the first thing I do in the morning. I'll get the 2 offers in. I've been tracking them for like a couple of days. They still look active as of today. I already got all my numbers together. The reason I do that's another way I win, another pattern, because most people don't like to look at a house before it gets past the investor stage or the homeowner stage. Because their fear is that if I go do all the work, that a homeowner is going to buy it. But when you're looking at a house that needs 50 or 60K in work, it doesn't often sell to a homeowner. And if it does 2 out of 10 times, I'm not worried about the 2 out of 10 times it does. I'm preparing for the 8 times it doesn't. So I know I'm going to be first in, because I've seen consistently where I put an offer in at like 6 in the morning, and I've sometimes got an answer back at 9 o'clock saying your offer is accepted, or no later than the next day by saying your offer is accepted. So it's pretty interesting to win a deal, right? When like because you're so quick on it. HUD is one of the few like bank-owned things that will like accept within 24 hours. If you've hit their number and they like what you've offered, like they will accept it very quickly. So knowing that, like the biggest advantage we can have is get our offer in like instantly. So, do I go and look at some houses to get bought coming to investors? Sure, but I'm not worried about that when it happens like 1 out of 5 times or whatever. It's no big deal, because the other 4 times I have a distinct advantage on everyone. So I go and look at HUD properties, and every HUD property, knowing that right now they're accepting deals like crazy. So yeah, I'm on them. And my competitors are always like, what do you think? What do you think they're knowing that, it's in the investor phase? Their agent's calling them. I got the offer in at 6. Their agent's calling them like noon that day after lunch saying, hey, man, that one's open to bid. You want to put an offer in? They're like, yeah, let me get all my stuff together. Let's go take a look at it. I'll go see you tomorrow. And what do you think's happening tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning? I'm getting, hey, Mike, you won the deal. And they're going to see it at noon the next day. Because that's just standardly the speed they do business at, where I'm like totally seeing it a day or two before. Because if it's available a day or two before, there's a good chance that it'll be available after the fact. If it hasn't sold, it's 21 days usually. And if it hasn't sold in the 21 days or 19 days, it likely won't sell in those 2 last days, is the best way to look at it.
I'll have to check it out.
Cool. So yes, that's always a good place. But HUD, MLS, there's deals everywhere. AA County, not so much on HUD right now. It's been pretty low, but the foreclosure list looks like it's going to start to open up a little bit in the next month or two. So we're tracking a lot of foreclosures coming out in the next 2 months. So that means the MLS and like HUD and all these sources will be good.
Great.
Any other questions around finding deals, working with contractors, anything I can help with? If anyone on the call wants to see an MLS search, you guys are welcome to come Thursday, 2 o'clock. Text Alante and just tell him to text you and give you access to that meeting. It's Thursday at 2 o'clock. I'm going to actually do an MLS search and just search through them and look at it. And so, if you just want to see the speed we're doing it at, how I'm making choices, how I'm going through it, just to kind of see it in real life action, if that would be of value to you, then obviously take a look at it and you'll see. But and I'll kind of show you basically just what we talked about, but I'm going to do it in real life and demo it in real life, in real time, real life. Just go through the MLS, and because I haven't checked it for a day or two, so it'll be perfect timing.
So when's that again, Mike?
Thursday at 2. You guys are welcome to the other calls, but because you're in the higher level group, you're not set up to get like automatic emails. But if you ever want to come to one of the other calls, you just let Delonte know, and he'll get you the link to it. Okay.
Cool.
Because you do have access to those if you want. And it's a lower level people, so sometimes you can jump on just to hear what I'm talking about, and then there's somebody. If you get bored at some point because maybe the stuff's a little below what you're learning right now, feel free to jump off whenever it's not of value to you.
Cool.
Cool. Is everybody good?
Yep.
Then so we're all good to go for I guess now. Everybody's awesome. Well, cool. Good stuff today. I mean, some really high level things we got to talk about in general with marketing and working with people, closing deals, selling deals, all that stuff. We always need deals. That's a big thing. When we see us in action with it, you'll be real happy to see how easy like it is to get deals. Is sometimes do you have to work hard? Yes, Alex, and yes, everyone, right? Because it gets super. When you're impatient, it gets like you put 2-3 days into it, you start saying, "What the F? What's going on?" But like know that it could be a couple weeks, and and honestly, it's not just that couple weeks, but it's a couple weeks of you getting better every day at it and honing and getting frustrated and then improving and get more resourceful, right? You have to get a little frustrated to get super resourceful is what I've found personally for myself. Like, you know, whenever I don't find deals for a long period of time, I get really resourceful. So it's okay for that to happen. It's all part of the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
Just don't give up. That's the only thing that would make it a loss, is giving up. So, yep, we're doing all that cool stuff. I'd love it if anyone can make it on Tuesday, because I think it's relevant. I don't think there's a time you couldn't learn from that. So if, you know, you want to jump in, feel free. Cool stuff. And then we're every Tuesday at 5 or 5:30, depending on if we have like next week. We'll do, I think we'll do Tuesday at, yeah, I'll try to get the call in. Technically, we're all supposed to be in Costa Rica. So, because that's usually what, you know, the coaching we're doing next week is in Costa Rica, but I'll still try to get a call in for who might need it. If anyone, there will be some people with me there. So we'll see if we can squeeze it in. If not, I'll set a different time and let you know, but we should be okay for 5:30.
Okay.
I just got to get to like a coffee shop to get good Wi-Fi. Maybe we could do a call instead of a video too. That would actually make life easier. There's a way to do a call, because that way I think it's easier to do a call than it is to do video.
Cool.
Awesome. So cool. That'll be the timing for next week. Nothing else. I think everything else good. All right, cool. Well, some will be in Costa Rica next week. We'll see you there. And if not, then, you know, I'll talk to you on the call. Okay. Everyone have a good couple days, and I'll see you on Thursday if you can make it. Okay.
Sounds
Awesome.
good.
Thank
Happy
you.
Halloween, everyone. All right. See you later.
Sure.
Bye.
All right. See you.